Join us as we attempt to paddleboard the width of Scotland along the Great Glen. The adventure spans 60 miles through some of the most breathtaking and rugged landscapes in the British Isles. We'll navigate our way through a series of lochs and canals from Fort William in the east to Inverness in the west. We set off early in the morning, knowing we had a long journey ahead with a 7-hour drive to our starting point. We walked up Neptune's staircase, a series of 8 lochs that raise the water level by 19 metres over half a kilometre.
We are currently in Bannerby. It is a beautiful sunny day and we're about to get onto the water.
We pumped up our boards, packed our bags, buoyancy aids on, and we were ready to hit the water.
Go! Go! Go!
After all that driving, we were finally glad to be on the water, getting stuck into this challenge.
And we're off.
The canal was serene and quiet, allowing us to fully immerse ourselves in the stunning landscape surrounding us. As we paddled, we passed vibrant gorse bushes in full bloom with their bright yellow flowers and coconut scent.
We are currently at Loch. We've done 6.5 miles into the headwind. Pretty tough. How did you find it, James?
Yeah, that was exhausting.
Now on to find the wild camping spot.
We entered our first loch, the wonderfully named Loch. We paddled hard for half an hour into a strong headwind, looking for a wild camping spot. We found a perfect one, with views along the vast expanse of water and the neighbouring mountains. We pitched our tent on a small patch of grassy terrain, attempting to avoid the many rocks and pebbles. After an afternoon of paddling, we had built up a good appetite, tucking into wraps loaded with avocado, cheese, hummus and salad.
That just over there is Ben Nevis. Ugh.
We set up a small fire using bits of driftwood collected from the shore. We sat around, hypnotised by the flames as they crackled and danced. The daylight gradually faded and we fell asleep using our buoyancy aids as pillows.
Morning, this is day 2. Yesterday we paddled along the Caledonian Canal and wild camped on the shores of Loch. Just packed up, ready to go, and seeing these waves. And we've got to paddle into them, so we might need to change the plan. Getting a nice shot of this, and then I think...
In a strong headwind, paddleboards aren't the best option. They act like giant sails, making it nearly impossible to make any progress. Realising this, we decided to retrace our route back to Bannerby. From here, we would then drive to Inverness and start our journey from the other direction. We packed up and rode the waves back to Loch, making our way into the relatively sheltered Caledonian Canal. With a headwind and calmer water, we made good progress. The Caledonian Canal was the brainchild of renowned engineer Thomas Telford. Completed in 1822, this path across Scotland offered a strategic route for naval and commercial ships, enabling them to avoid the treacherous waters of the west coast of Scotland and the Pentland Firth. Today, it remains a popular destination for leisure activities and tourism.
We're now in Inverness, just pumping our boards up, ready to get back on the water. Plan B time.
With a favourable tailwind behind us, we made good progress through the canal and into Loch, a small loch that leads into the famous Loch Ness. As we entered Loch Ness, we couldn't help but marvel at its sheer size, stretching 23 miles and reaching depths of 230 metres. It's no surprise that it's earned a mysterious and legendary status. We searched for a suitable place to camp, which we found at Dora's Beach, where we found a spot nestled in the trees with soft ground, much to the relief of the tenpence.
Here we are, frying chorizo on the fire.
With the fire roaring and chorizo cooked, we used the remaining heat to boil water for the accompanying couscous. The flame-grilled chorizo was mouth-wateringly tasty.
This is day 3. We wild camped on the shores of Loch Ness last night, on the northeastern end of it. Here's a tent and lake in view. Just having my morning porridge, then we'll be boiling up some water for our coffee bags.
No, he wants to do some tricks on his paddleboard.
Oh, he wants to pose?
Yeah.
There's always one, isn't there? Like?
Oh.
We're currently paddling on Loch Ness and it is beautiful, still, and the water is super glassy.
The water was like glass, perfectly still, creating a serene and almost otherworldly atmosphere. In the distance, a mist lingered, cloaking the full extent of the loch and adding another layer of magic to the experience.
Lochs were formed from a series of strike slip faults at some point, probably thousands of years ago. And then, we're not entirely sure, we're sort of postulating here, but we think then it was filled with glaciers and eroded down by the ice to form the massive rocks we see today.
Nice, thanks James, our fellow geologist.
By late morning, the wind was starting to pick up and the water becoming choppy. As ever, the camera doesn't do it justice, but at the time, they certainly felt like big waves. Thankfully, our decision to change direction turned out to be the right option, as we surfed the waves with a good tailwind assisting us. Nessie must have been feeling shy today, as we saw no signs of the infamous creature.
We're here at Loch campsite and this is where we were originally going to camp. It's a beautiful spot, but
We were here pretty early, and also there wasn't a lot of flat ground for a two-man tent. We were both feeling good, so decided to push on to Fort Augustus.
okay, it's coming back over.
It was at this point we spotted a white-tailed eagle soaring above the granite cliffs. Definitely one of the highlights of today. As we neared Fort Augustus, we had to cross to the other side of the loch. The cross waves here required your full concentration. We only had one slight hiccup with James falling in once, but getting back on the board quickly with no complaining. Fort Augustus was a welcome sight after a long day of paddling. It was about 6 PM by the time we got into Fort Augustus, and although we still had a couple of kilometres left to paddle before reaching a camp spot, we decided to take a rest here for food. Safe to say, we devoured our takeaway. The final short section on the canal was easy paddling. By the time we got to our camp spot, we'd done 25 miles, 40k of paddling. The biggest day of paddling I've ever done by far. Day 4, we're just about to set off. We camped over there at Lochs in the woods, and we're just about to head off on the water. We portaged around the final canal lock of the journey. We'd gotten used to carrying everything in one go. A big rucksack on the back, and paddles and boards under our arms. Morning. As we entered Loch, although one of the smaller lochs along the Great Glen, it was definitely one of the prettiest, with lush green trees overhanging into the water. We arrived into Lochs, the location where we would be finishing. We agreed to stop here due to the detour of turning back part way at the start of the trip. $60 of paddling done over the last few days, and my arms and my hamstrings and legs are feeling it a little bit. Everything's a little bit stiff. How are you feeling, James?
Yeah, alright.
You've completed it, the Great Glen.
Well, sort of.
This is where we're going to be stopping and catching the CityLink bus to Ness. And this is our paddling journey coming to an end. And that concludes our adventure along the Great Glen. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more outdoor content.